time now. So let's play hockey.
Welcome to the Let's Play Hockey podcast. I'm Brian Zolman, joined by Brian Bonin, former Hobie Baker Award winner, and Mr. Hockey from 1992 at White Bear Lake. Latest podcast here is presented by Northern Lids. Northern Lids, you can see them here in the studio, at the Cub Food studio here at Pull Tab Sports. Northern Lids specializes in patch-style custom hand-stitched hats. They have a great selection of Minnesota hockey hats from youth teams to the pros. If you're looking for custom hats for your team, look no further than Northern Lids. They'll work with you to show off your team colors with pride and give you a final product your whole team is sure to love. You can find out more about Northern Lids at northernlids.com. Well, Mr. Bonin, high school season is in full swing with your kid now graduated and moved on. I don't know how much high school hockey you've been able to see. You know, we got the usual suspects kind of up at the top, and we're finding out that, boy, it seems year in and year out, it's the same handful of teams that that are fighting in those rankings. St. Thomas Academy right now is the number one team in the state, and they're taking it to some teams. They might not have the strength of schedule that an Edina has, or maybe a Hill Murray, but I think they have a 18-0 win and a 15-1 win so far this season. We talked a little bit about those types of games, and you certainly can't blame STA. But what is the benefit of a program like STA playing a program that, well, is going to get outshot, 70-7 and outscored 18-rip?
Yeah, I haven't seen enough games live yet to have a full-fledged comment on where the high school league is at, but I've followed all the scores, and we're seeing some big scores again. And, for all the work that the kids put in, the high school league's got to step up and do something here. We've done it in other sports. We've talked about this in the past, but it really goes to just the effort and time that hockey players put in. And they love this game, and you just want an opportunity to compete, and fairly compete, have a competitive game. That's where we learn all these slogans I see coming through the high school league. Some of those, maybe several of those aren't applying anymore. So it's a little frustrating when you can see it in other sports that they've got a little bit more balanced, and here we are still struggling, trying to figure out what the matchup should be. And we've got teams all over the state. The demographic and dynamics of hockey have changed a little bit in terms of the communities. We should be able to adjust with that because it's not good. And I, in some ways, think the high school league is vulnerable here to people making some different choices. If you get 24 games and only 8 of them are good, you might look for some other options. We talked the CHL. Things are going to change. You talk about that Canadian league and players having more opportunities. They're going to take those opportunities. If we want players to stick around, local community and play for that community, they're going to have an option to leave at 15 and 16 now. Don't give them 8 games that are even halfway decent, all to try to get to the state tournament one time. I'm not sure that's a heavy enough reason to stay if we don't find a way to fix this. There's enough good teams. We need 3 tiers.
I agree. I just talked to a parent last week, and he has a good player in I wouldn't call it a bad program, but a double-A program that is just not going to be able to compete with the big dogs. His option is, if he wants to play college hockey, what are his options? Probably to leave early, right? And we don't want kids to leave early. We want them to stay in high school. But the team he's on probably doesn't have a shot at getting past the section semifinals. So how, what can be done to make it more enjoyable for more players, more opportunity for more kids? We talked about the third tier, and I know a lot of hockey purists, you can't wreck the 2-class system. Well, it used to be a 1-class system. And why did we change it? Because the disparity, right? There's too much disparity. Well, we want parity in hockey. We don't have it right now. There's probably 10 teams in Class AA and 10 teams in Class A. Maybe more, but a lot of them are in the same section.
Yep.
Right? So you're only going to see, a handful of teams every year that have a chance to win a state tournament. Now, that's not the only reason you play hockey. You're playing with your buddies, you're having fun. There's a multitude of reasons. But I think at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, you want a shot. You want a chip in a chair, right?
You want a shot, and again, if we're going to talk about the slogans, Minnesota State High School League, about how great sports are for kids, and it needs to be competitive for a multitude of reasons. And we can dive into a couple of these that come to mind for me really quick. One is going to be injuries and safety. The game is bigger, faster, stronger in all games, but we have a contact sport. It's really hard to tell a player to not try or not chase that guy down, and all of a sudden you realize the space and time is there and you can lay this guy out. It's fair. It's in the rules. Well, what are we trying to hurt people? Well, that's just part of the... No, it's not. No, it's not. We have hitting and we have checking and we have trying to hurt someone. And it's hard to balance that when you're not in a really competitive game. So I want to start there because I think sometimes people forget that. Well, it's a rough sport and it's whatever. I dare you to jump in there and see how that goes. And you're asking your kid to do something, and you're asking actually the high school league to help protect them. You really are. So just taking that skill disparity, there's a reason why we need to look at this. Second is, whenever I've thought back to the days of, I think of someone like a Johnny Pohl and Red Wing, maybe not a great team, couldn't play with the top teams, but here's a player that found his way. And I'm guessing it wasn't playing by himself. I'm guessing Johnny was told, you got to make the guys around you better. So if he's in a competitive game, he can do that. He can work on his own game. He can work on helping his teammates. You can't do that against Hill Murray and White Bear Lake and Maple Grove and Wayzata. You can't. So you're going to try things you shouldn't. You're going to expose yourself and expose your teammates to injury and bad habits. That's what comes of this. It isn't like that was kind of fun. We saw a couple of my buddies there in our rivalry school across the way, and we lost 20-2. And hey guys, you want to go hang out? I mean, that's not what happens. It's this is a bigger deal than I think people are talking about, and I'm not sure what it is. Trying to keep the the integrity. The what we have two classes now, so the one class is gone. We got two. Why not just be smart and do it for the right reasons?
Well, you talked about other sports. Football has 7 classes. They just had their state tournament, which is a great event at the U.S. Bank Stadium there, all the way down from 9-man up to 6A. And it wasn't that way 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There used to be 2 classes, and now it's 7. Why? Well, because, safety is one, especially in football, right? And you just, if you're losing 63 to 6 every Friday, are kids going to continue to show up on Monday and put all that hard work in Monday through Thursday to get beat up on Friday? I don't want to see that happen in hockey, because I think we will lose kids. We'll just be like, well, what's the point? We're going to lose. Why should I work hard? Why should I show up? Maybe I'll try something different.
Yeah, I mean, I think just being an East Sider, really competitive games back in the day with, North St. Paul, doesn't even exist. South St. Paul, I know they've struggled in the last couple of years maybe because they just were so good, such a powerhouse. But what, do you want to go to the game on Saturday night with, bring your young son or daughter, hey, let's go watch a high school game. And if you're getting beat 20-0, or even if it's 8-0, why? That's my dream. That's my dream, to play with this program. So there's got to be something there, because when you see 2 teams, for the most part, equal skill level, those are good games. When you look at some of the teams that are struggling and look at those box scores, those are good games. Mm-hmm. And in 15 years, 20 years now, I guess, in coaching and watching kids play at not the AA or A level, man, they're having a great time. They're having a great time. Your perspective once the season starts are your games and your team. I don't believe the guys at X school want to compete against Maple Grove and Minnetonka and Edina just so they can say they played those teams. They're not interested.
Right.
We're not interested in it. And that's why sports is so valuable for kids, is it's an opportunity to grow. I don't know how you grow when you're, we got beat 15-0. That doesn't teach a whole lot of great lessons. I think it teaches more negatives than positives, that's for sure.
Right. I want to transition over to something we had an article in Let's Play Hockey recently by Jack Blatherwick about confidence. And I think the transition, we want our kids to be confident, right? Well, it's hard to be confident if you're Simley playing St. Thomas Academy or Tartan playing Hill Murray, just because you're close to each other in the same conference, that, there's not much to compare there. But coaching confidence, now you're a former coach, and maybe you had some coaches when you were growing up. It's really hard to teach that. It's very easy to destroy it. We see it all the time, and Blatherwick eloquently points out in his article, that if a team has a bad period, that coach needs to go in there and just needs to tear him a new one, and they do it all the time. Well, what does that do to the player? What does that do to the team? So what's your experience? It's tricky because it's hard to instill confidence in a kid that maybe doesn't have that in him yet. Are there ways to do it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really think there are. And, there's multiple facets of this game that can, make it enjoyable, but also allow you to be successful, as a young child and into those young adult years. And I think I've mentioned this on a pod before. One of my coaching philosophies was strictly from a team perspective of hard work, confidence, courage, and discipline, and kind of living by those four. And you want to teach people to work hard. You don't just work hard. You got to teach them how to do it. And confidence is next. And it's because by doing that, you'll receive some sort of reward. It just will happen. And now when you take that onto the ice, you tell people to give an effort. Kids, for the most part, know their effort. So if that's the measuring stick, so to speak, then you can lose 7-1. And you could maybe have a great effort and still stay confident in it. It's hard as a coach to teach that and stay with that. But come on, you've seen enough games. If you've coached enough games or ask around, that happens and can happen. If you're getting beat 20-0 every game, pretty soon they're not going to be listening to you. So I think it's another roundabout way of saying we got to have, some parity in these games, because it will allow that even when you're getting beat, because you can work hard in certain areas and then take a little gas off out of the engine when you're dealing with a really good player in the corner and you're not working your hardest, but now you're playing smart. And so you have a combination of working really hard, working really smart, and I think confidence grows from that. Even though maybe the other player you're defending against or playing against is better than you. Kids see that. They recognize that. They don't want to be embarrassed, even though they might get embarrassed. So you can drive that confidence home of you played that as good as you can. What'd you learn from it? What can you learn from it? And I think they buy in, and then they're willing to give you a little more courage too.
Right. And I think the good coaches do find ways to teach that, in situations where maybe there's an overmatch, and if the effort was there, if it wasn't a losing effort, then you don't really lose, Might have lost the battle, might have lost the puck, you might have lost the game, but don't lose your effort.
You can't do that when it's 60-6. When you see shots 60-6 or 40-2 or whatever, I mean, that tells you there was nothing going on in that game.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking we got outshot 30-15 and we lost 5-0. That's where the disparity here is so drastic. And yeah, I'm afraid like you that people must make other choices. They won't choose high school hockey.
And I think you'll see some of our smaller programs get smaller, potentially. I think there's a lot of AA programs right now. They got the enrollment, but there's some programs playing AA hockey that don't even have a Bantam team. How are they supposed to compete? You know?
I don't get it. I really don't get it. And as those communities, when you think about sport, and hockey's a little expensive, so the community-based model we have here is wonderful, and the cities, counties will own the rinks. Outside of our state, you don't see that, and the game's super expensive, and the numbers aren't as good. I mean, Minnesota drives these numbers because you can play close by your home. You can play games against other communities close by your home. I'm not sure we'd have the same numbers if you have to move around. So then it gets more specialized and the travel, and then you got to have money to play. I don't think we want to lose our identity here in Minnesota for that, because we can do both. We can do both. We got plenty of AAA programs and other training programs, and we're still producing really good players. I know John King still wants to talk about why we haven't produced, I don't know what, Nathan McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
And McKinnon and Crosby come out of the same town, but we're producing a lot of really good players, and we'll get our gem, even though I think we have a lot of gems, by the way.
Yeah,
we'll get there, Johnny.
Talking a little bit about training, we talked off screen or off air about rollerblading, some roller hockey. You visited a facility recently. Tell me a little bit. Now, I rollerbladed back in the day. It was fun. It was good. It's different, right? And I had people say, well, rollerblading's bad for your stride. It's not the same. You're going to ruin your hockey stride. Well, I never had a great hockey stride anyway. But what are the benefits that you see of putting rollers on and training that way?
We had the conversation about 3v3, smaller rinks, and trying to pull people out of this 5-on-5 big rink element is what I think the goal might need to be here in the next couple of years, to just raise the game. I mean, I suppose everybody could then end up doing small rinks and roller hockey, but just it gets you into a different mindset as you'd play. So yeah, I stunk at rollerblading because I couldn't stop, and it's really, really different. But that forces you to use some different muscles, think the game. Hockey sense. Everybody loves to talk about hockey sense. It's really hard to teach. It really is circumstance. A lot of mistakes, a lot of errors. So you need to be in those opportunities to fail, so to speak. So that's what roller hockey, in some ways, as I've thought about it. Well, that's I'm kind of failing in being able to do everything I want to do on skates, but I'm still playing the same game. It's still small areas and 2-on-1s, and you're shooting much the same, and the net's the same, and so I just think the ability to cross-train, we've talked, kids don't play multiple sports anymore. So we got to cross-train them multiple ways now, like inside, and we trying to get the coaches and the parents out of the way. So I don't know, drop them off. Indoors, I think you can learn a lot from roller hockey, whether it's a small game, but also just the skill and the skill training, without the expense. We need more rinks. In some of these communities, I think could spend a little money on a smaller rink or a warehouse with some tile down and doing a little roller hockey. We'll maybe have somebody on to talk about this, because I think there's an opportunity there to, again, make the game fun.
It's gotten big out east, and I think it's big out west. Obviously, they don't have as much ice, but we don't have a lot of rinks shut down in the summer in Minnesota. Especially in your smaller communities, they just can't afford to, keep the ice in. What are the options? Well, roller hockey is a great option, right? But maybe it's not. It's for whatever reason it hasn't reached the Midwest. It hasn't reached Minnesota. Out east, huge. Out west, huge. But I think it's coming. I think it's going to be a good way for kids to train in the summer, in the off season. And not really train, but play hockey. having fun. I mean, they're training, but we always say you got to train. Well, training is work. We don't just say, hey, let's go play hockey this summer. Just go play some hockey. And, the rollers, allow kids to do that, and less expensive, I'm guessing. Probably don't got to drive as far for some communities. So yeah, but we probably don't talk about it enough as an option around these parts.
Maybe it's because coaches, associations, one, you have to have a location. Could you take the local rink and open it up for that? Do you know how to teach it, coach it? There are some other skills needed. Mm-hmm. So maybe it does take more of a professional to figure that out, because we don't need injuries, and skating's hard enough, teaching kids how to skate. Roller is a different stride, and I don't know if it wrecks. I remember hearing that about the treadmill too. A treadmill can wreck your stride, and I don't know if you only do the treadmill for the next year and you don't get on the ice at all.
Right.
I think your body does adjust, and are you trying to complement or change your stride, or are you? And again, if you think about small area or a smaller area for even roller, well, I don't know how you're going to ruin your stride if you got small areas. You know what I mean? You're not taking off down the ice. You're more making plays. I guess I see it more like street hockey. I loved street hockey. Just screwing around with kids,
Yeah.
You're running. What you were doing is playing the game. You were learning how to play this game so that when you put ice skates on, you just could move a little bit quicker. But conceptually, it was fun as heck, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm thinking is how do we just keep this fun for the players and create different seasons instead of full ice 5-on-5 12 months a year. That's where it's going. Maybe we're already there. And on top of that, you're going to add some training, some additional hard work. That's tough. That's tough long term to keep that going, I think, without, hey, now it's roller season. Hey, now it's 3-on-3 season. Hey, now it's baseball season.
Right.
Changing it up a little bit, giving someone a break, that they're hungry for each of those then. You're kind of just a little bit intrigued or interested as a player for each to work hard and try some new things, because there's a challenge in front of you.
Right.
Instead of 5-on-5, take a day off. Who cares? Because I got to skate again tomorrow.
And it's always the same.
Always the same. Literally always the same. And in some programs, hate to say it, but I'm sure it is, very robotic. Very robotic. We want to win, so we're going to put you, the third line. This is your role starting at Pee Wee's. Dump it in, chase, back check, get off.
Right.
So we can win.
Yeah. We'll let our top two guys do all the scoring. You just make sure you don't get scored on.
Yeah, not fun. That's not why people sign up to play hockey.
No. Yeah, interesting. We talked also about shooting, dry land shooting, and some techniques there. Should a kid throw a pair of rollers on when he's firing pucks just because it gives you the same kind of, I don't know, movement with your feet? I mean, is flat-footed shooting, if you fire 500 pucks in your garage just from your feet, what is that improving? Speed, accuracy?
Yeah, you're building probably some muscle memory in that, but I think movement helps. There's nothing better than ice. So, roller gives you that opportunity to be moving a little bit, but you need some space then.
Mm-hmm.
You need some space. So, yeah, and, we talked about all the little things that are different. Your stick is going to be longer, unless you've got a bunch of sticks and you're cutting them off.
Right.
Then you get back on your skates and you're like, whoa, what happened here? So
who's going to cut off a $300 stick that they can't use on the ice then, right?
Oh, that's good. I got a great sidebar story on that a friend told me that this kid got, I think it was 8 sticks for Christmas, cut them all off, for that height, and they were just laughing like, I hope you don't grow.
Wow.
Remember back in the old days, sticks would last a little bit too.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't go through 8 sticks, I don't think, in a season. Heck, I think I maybe went through 2,
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought it was a funny story. But certainly
I want to know what the mom and dad do for a living to afford 8 sticks nowadays.
This is the old days. Sticks were probably $12.
Oh.
So good. but yes, I think, being on some movement. People have talked about the synthetic ice. I don't know how. I've never been on that, to be honest with you. A nice synthetic ice. People have said it's nice. The puck just doesn't glide the same. I don't think so. Having rollerblades on, that movement is good.
When you're on the ice, you're moving when you're shooting
all the time.
You're not standing flat-footed. But taking out for the kid who fires 1,000 pucks a summer, 10,000 pucks, keep shooting. It's not going to hurt you. But
no, you're not. We need more shots in practices probably too. It's a challenge.
Right. We talked about that as well with the 5-on-5 and the big sheet versus the 3v3 and the smaller sheet. The touches, the shots on goal, great for goalies, great for pretty much everyone involved from a training standpoint.
Yeah, being involved makes me think of knee hockey a little bit too. People on road trips and in hotels playing knee hockey and whatnot. Like, kids love that because everyone's in the game all the time. Like, it's just shots back and forth and crashing into each other in the hallways and rooms and stuff too. So yeah, it just forces you to get into those things that are fun.
And do you think the 5-on-5 game stifles creativity?
It does today. When I think back of playing, and I know this is a long time ago, but I don't even remember coaches yelling at me when they should have, about finishing a check, not hitting someone, but finish a check and stay on your player and don't turn away from the puck and things they actually should have, yelled at us for. Now it's, move it and get to the red, and if you dump it in, and there's absolutely no creativity in the sense of trying to make plays, especially early on in the season, because we're going to need some of this at some point. We're going to have to score a goal or two. So if you're not the best team, we saw last year some upsets. Like seven lower seeds made it state tournament. A bunch of number one seeds got knocked off. So you have to be able to make those plays, and you got to recognize when to make those plays. You can't just, dump it in, try to get it back. It is a puck possession game. So we got to find a way to possess the puck more often, and that takes numbers. So you can't just take off and make people so robotic. So I'm seeing a lot of that, and I wonder if it is a bit of the pressure of not, having the disparity. So you're a little concerned as a coach going into the game tonight. There's a chance these guys are going to be much better than us. I don't want to lose 15-0. I'd rather lose 8-0. So you're going to play a really defensive, robotic game. I can't imagine being a player in that. Like, okay, guys, we're going to lose tonight, but we might not lose that bad. And if we make it really, really boring, then maybe we have a chance to keep it 8-0. Everyone, okay, sounds great, coach. Let's go. You think about that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You want a chance to win and have good or bad periods. And as Blatherwick says, maybe you need a kick in the ass a little bit. Like, I know you guys are better than us, but you want them to believe it.
Right.
You need them to believe that. And then you're trying to reinforce that hard work that's created that confidence in them wasn't all for naught.
Very good. We got Hockey Day Minnesota coming up in Shakopee. They didn't have Hockey Day back when we played. But what's your experience with Hockey Day? You skated when it was in White Bear Lake.
Yeah, we had a couple of alumni games.
Yeah, alumni game.
It was kind of fun.
Was it fun?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Being outside. I did Minneapolis's Hockey Day. Maybe there'll be a game. I think Stillwater, actually. I didn't do that one. We had a Gopher Wisconsin alumni game. One of the days before that, when it was in Stillwater, it was a terrible idea, I think, because there was almost some fights. But go figure. Maybe there'll be one in Shakopee. But, yeah, I love being outside. I thought it was actually really hard to play in the sun, daytime, and then the lights at night aren't great lights because often it's like a football stadium, so the lights are just all sorts of shadows and stuff. And so,
right.
But super excited about that. We got to be down there. We got to be down there.
Absolutely.
We got to be down there. We got to do a couple pods down there somehow, some way. Maybe we'll just stand in the cold and we can just interview people as they come by. Can you imagine all the personalities we'll see?
Yeah, well,
I think we should just do that.
Been to a couple of them. It's fun. It's fun. I hope the weather works out because when it gets cold, I'm just a baby now. I used to skate outdoors and my toes would freeze and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Now I won't.
Soft.
If it's
Soft.
if it's below zero, I just hunker down in my house. What else?
Well, then we got the expo.
You got the
So,
expo.
A couple more good guest ideas, I think, coming up. Just ways to figure out how to keep this game fun. And, if your dream is to continue your career of hockey into, through high school into juniors or college, like, what is it going to take? Because there's many more facets needed now, I think. You can't just be smart or have great hockey sense. You do have to be able to move. Might help to have a little size. This game is fast. The players are good. So a lot of respect out there for what the kids are able to do today.
Yeah, and I think size and speed obviously are two biggies for scouts. Looking at some of the top players in Minnesota this year, not a lot of size, a lot of skill, a lot of speed, not a lot of size. So I wonder how that will be reflected in the draft. We're usually in that 8 to 12 range, 8 to 12 players that get plopped out of Minnesota high school hockey. Not sure that's going to be the case this time around. Got some really good players. I think there are going to be some really good college players. But boy, size is something you can't teach, right?
No, comes at different years for players too, and the adjustments that need to be made. And yeah, we're really early, but those sections always just kind of linger. Like it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Get down to the X and the Expo.
The
Get down to
Expo.
the Expo too.
I know. We're getting we're kind of finding out which teams are which here, and again, like we said at the beginning of the pod, it's a lot of the usual suspects, and I think we can expect Section 2 AA and Section 6 AA and 3 AA this year, and on the Class A side, I think the top 3 teams are all in Section 7. So that's going to be a fun section to watch. And section hockey is probably more fun to watch in the state tournament. Those section finals, because it's one and done. It's
and smaller rinks too. I think we got some great rinks in this state. I know we're trying to go independent with most of this, but those small rinks are great.
Yeah, people hanging from the rafters. The atmosphere is great. Well, if you get a chance, make sure you get out and catch some high school hockey this winter. There's a lot of holiday tournaments coming up. This pod will probably come out after the holidays. So January is always gangbusters, and then, of course, sections in February. So get to your local rink, support your high school team, and you'll get a good bang for your dollar, because there's really not a better product in the state of hockey than high school hockey. With that, I think we are going to sign off on this pod. Once again, thank you to our sponsor, Northern Lids. Check them out at northernlids.com. His name is Nick, and he will take care of all of your hat needs. We got some Let's Play Hockey hats here in the studio. You can go to letsplayhockey.com if you want to order a Let's Play Hockey lid in your team colors. We have them all. And we will see you next time from the Cub Food Studios at Pull Tab Sports.
It's time now. So let's play hockey.